The moment Danjuma stepped through the glowing tunnel inside the baobab, the air around him thickened like morning mist rising from sacred rivers. The ground beneath his feet changed from hardened red soil into soft clay, cool and untouched by footprints of the present. The sounds came first: laughter, children singing, wooden pestles pounding yam in rhythmic harmony, birds whose songs no longer existed in the modern village. Danjuma slowly turned in a circle, breath caught between fear and wonder. Before him stood Kinjani village, but centuries younger. Huts were built in circular harmony around a wide ceremonial ground decorated with fresh cowrie shells and colored stones. Smoke from cooking fires spiraled lazily into the golden sunset. Every face he saw glowed with peace and unity, something his own time had quietly lost. Then he noticed something deeper. No one seemed surprised to see him. They simply smiled, as though they had been waiting. Near the sacred river stood a tall figure draped in bark robes that shimmered like tree bark wet with rain. The man's face was neither old nor young. His eyes carried storms and dry seasons at the same time. The traveler between seasons. He dipped his staff into the flowing river and spoke without turning. "You arrived later than expected, memory walker." Danjuma stepped closer, his heartbeat echoing like distant drums. "You know me?" he asked cautiously. The traveler finally turned. "I know every child born from the promise your village made to the earth." He studied Danjuma carefully. "You carry the voice of soil and wind, just like the first keeper." Danjuma swallowed hard. "I came to stop the baobab from destroying my village." The traveler smiled gently, though sadness lingered in his expression. "The baobab does not destroy," he replied. "It remembers." The traveler gestured toward the river, whose surface suddenly transformed into moving images like living glass. Scenes unfolded across the water. Warriors protecting farmlands from raiders. Women teaching children ancient star navigation songs. Farmers blessing seeds before planting. "This," said the traveler softly, "is the true wealth of Kinjani. Not cattle, not gold, not trade. Memory." He pointed at another scene. Merchants arguing over land borders, elders abandoning rituals for faster farming methods, families moving apart for wealth opportunities. When your ancestors asked for rain, they promised never to forget the foundation that held them together. Danjuma's chest tightened. They broke the promise? Yes. And every broken promise feeds the baobab. The traveler tapped his staff against the riverbank. The ground trembled, and 3 stone pillars rose slowly from beneath the soil. Each pillar carried ancient carvings glowing with faint golden light. "To restore balance," the traveler said, "you must pass the 3 trials." Danjuma stared at the towering pillars. "What happens if I fail?" The traveler's eyes darkened like gathering storm clouds. "Then your village will continue living, but without identity, without unity, without soul." He pointed to the first pillar, the trial of truth; the second, the trial of sacrifice; and finally, the tallest pillar, the trial of memory. The first pillar cracked open, releasing thick swirling smoke that wrapped around Danjuma like heavy cloth. Suddenly, he stood inside his childhood home. His father sat sharpening hunting arrows near the doorway. His mother prepared herbal mixtures beside a clay pot. It felt real, too real." His father spoke harshly. "You are too soft, Danjuma. The world respects strength, not dreams." Danjuma felt the familiar sting of childhood doubt. The scene shifted. He saw himself abandoning village rituals as he grew older, chasing trade opportunities in distant cities. He saw himself becoming wealthy, but alone. He watched his parents age without him beside them. He watched Mamazuri die, waiting. "Why are you showing me this?" Danjuma shouted. The smoke thickened. The traveler's voice echoed from nowhere and everywhere. "Truth is not what you want to see. It is what you refuse to see." The vision changed again. Now Danjuma saw his deepest fear. He saw himself refusing the responsibility of memory walker. He saw the baobab explode into a storm of broken memories, turning villagers into strangers to each other. Children wandering without knowing their parents. Friends turning into enemies without understanding why. Danjuma dropped to his knees. "I will not run," he whispered through tears. "I choose my village." The smoke vanished instantly. The first pillar glowed brightly. Trial 1 was complete. The second pillar opened with a deafening crack. The world shifted again. Danjuma now stood in the middle of Kijani village during a massive flood. Rain pounded violently. Villagers screamed as water swallowed huts and livestock. Mamazuri clung to a broken canoe while holding a crying child that was not from her family. His mother shouted for help from a collapsing rooftop. His father struggled to rescue trapped elders inside a falling hut. 3 lives, 3 choices. A voice boomed from the sky. "You can save only one." Danjuma's chest tightened until he could barely breathe. He ran toward his mother, then stopped. He ran toward his father, then stopped again. Finally, he turned toward Mamazuri and the unfamiliar child. Why? Because she was saving a life not connected to blood. He dove into the raging water and pulled them to safety. The flood froze instantly like a paused painting. The traveler appeared beside him. Sacrifice is not choosing what you love most. It is choosing what love requires. The second pillar burst into radiant light. The third pillar rose higher than the others, pulsing like a heartbeat. When it opened, Danjuma found himself standing inside a dark, endless hall filled with floating orbs of light. Each orb contained memories stolen from generations of villagers. Songs, names, traditions, lullabies, marriage rituals, healing chants, ancestral warnings. The weight of them pressed against his mind like thousands of voices speaking at once. "You must carry them," the traveler's voice echoed. "But memory is heavier than stone." One by one, the orbs began entering Danjuma's chest. With each memory, he felt emotions belonging to strangers. A mother losing her child during migration. A warrior refusing to betray his tribe. A farmer celebrating his first successful harvest. Danjuma screamed as the emotional flood threatened to tear him apart. "I cannot hold them all," he cried. "You are not meant to hold them," the traveler answered. "You are meant to return them." Understanding dawned. Danjuma began singing an ancient lullaby Mamazuri taught him as a child. The floating orbs began organizing themselves into patterns, forming constellations that slowly flowed back toward the living world. The hall exploded into golden light. The final trial was complete. As the memory realm calmed, Danjuma collapsed onto soft earth beside the sacred river. The traveler stood silently beside him. "Why did you help us?" Danjuma asked weakly. The traveler's expression softened. I did not help you. I gave your ancestors a choice." He paused. "I am balance." Danjuma looked up slowly. "I am balance." The river behind him transformed into endless shifting seasons, drought, flood, harvest, storm. "I exist wherever humans forget that survival and memory must walk together." The traveler placed his staff into Danjuma's hands. "Return these memories to your people," he said, "but understand this. Once you carry the knowledge of every forgotten pain and joy, you will never again live as an ordinary man." Danjuma closed his eyes. "I never was." The baobab's inner world began collapsing into streams of golden dust as the ritual reached completion. Danjuma was thrown violently back into the physical world. He landed at the base of the baobab as thunder cracked across the sky. The village gathered around him, terrified and desperate. Suddenly, villagers began remembering things all at once. Forgotten songs burst into the air. Parents collapsed in tears, calling their children by names they had forgotten. But as Danjuma struggled to stand, cracks spread across the baobab trunk. Dark shadows leaked from within, forming human-like shapes made of lost regrets and buried betrayals. Elder Kako whispered in horror. The memories returned, but so did the sins that created them. The shadows turned toward Danjuma and began walking.